like and subscribe. Now, in what way is it expensive to be poor? I saw a lady coming out of a laundromat, loading her baskets of clothes into a taxi. There is zero other public transport where I saw this happen and only a few taxis. Not being able to put enough money together at one time to buy a car or a washing machine. She probably rented, so this maybe wasn't even an option. Was costing her a fortune, just being nickel-and-dimed to death. I've seriously walked my laundry basket over a mile to the bus stop on a regular basis. Not fun times. Laundromats are expensive as hell too. If you're ever desperate enough to take out a title/payday loan, you'll discover you just stepped in financial quicksand. About a year and a half ago, I forgot to leave enough money in my bank account for a payment that needed to be done. It wasn't much, around $500 maybe, but didn't want the late payment and fees that come with it, so I decided to look into the payday loans. I needed $500 to last until Friday when I would be paid. I checked on it on Monday when I was to click accept. I read the entire thing. It said I had to pay back $950 if I paid on Friday, or about $2,500 if I went with their payment plan. I noped out of that bullshit as fast as I could, called my bank, and I luckily had overdraft protection or whatever. Payment went through and all I had to pay was like $15 or something for the overdraft. For men who used to be creepy towards women and have since stopped, what was it that made you realize you were creepy that prompted you to change? Hearing women complain and thinking, oh poop, I've done that, seriously has helped me improve a lot of things. Reading threads on the internet did the same for me. Reading complaints was like staring into a mirror and being horrified. Yep, for me it was when the neckbed/nasegai memes and stuff started and it was too close for comfort. That's epic self-reflection. In middle school, I was a mid-puberty, horniness-stricken little perv. I didn't do a good job of concealing it either. I would always get really close to my one friend because I liked her at the time, and looking back it was so wrong to do. It took me looking at what they were thinking and how my behavior affected them to really stop being creepy. Hindsight helps a lot as well. I remember the hugs that lingered a little too long, the hands that went a little too low, the "where's my hugs" lack of personal space, etc. that I got from boys in middle school. I'm honestly glad to hear reflection happens on your side. Where's my hugs? Back home in your mother's arms. What's a deeply unsettling fact? During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. And the last execution by guillotine in France was the same year Star Wars came out. Due to fresh drinking water being so scarce on the Galapagos Islands, some bird species, such as the vampire finch, have adapted by drinking the blood of other animals. Mondo, with a name like vampire finch, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Eventually, most of the content on the internet will have been created by dead people, just like literature, currently. For a long time it was believed that babies were too underdeveloped to be able to feel pain, and as such, did not need an aesthetic for any kind of surgeries, up into the 1980s. There's still people who believe this now, literally doing circumcisions with zero anesthetic. This is why doctors who have been practicing for 35 years isn't always a good thing. What is your best ghost/paranormal experience story? My brother's bedroom was next door to mine growing up. One afternoon, he asked me what I was doing the previous night that made me laugh so much. Confused, I pressed him for details. About 3 AM last night, your laughter woke me up. It sounded like you were pacing your room too. Pacing and laughing. At this point I told him that I wasn't home last night. I'd been at a friend's house. He went pale. To this day he swears blind that it was my laugh. I have a very distinct laugh, apparently. This is my brother's story, but it's a good one. He was working as a night porter at an old hotel from the 18th century in the northern English countryside. One night, a woman came down to reception as white as a sheet with her suitcase, saying she could not sleep and did not want to stay there. My brother inquired as to why. She said she could hear children laughing all night and a child had entered her room with a candle and was standing at the foot of the bed and wouldn't leave. My brother mentioned it to his manager the following morning and he was told that it is a regular occurrence. Before the hotel was a hotel, it used to be used as a school and kindergarten over 100 years ago. When my middle child was about 2.5-3, we lived on an old house with a lot of poorly built self-done renovations done on it. There was an under-house storage area / workshop area accessible from one of the bedrooms. This workshop has a hatch door to the dirt under the house. Anyway, my daughter used to complain about the blue lady that lives under the house. We moved and never heard about it again. People who help fight human trafficking. What are some tips you have for spotting illegal activity and reporting it? I've told this story on here before. I don't fight human trafficking, but I'm a teacher who had a student who was sold by his mother in exchange for drugs. He was kept as a sex slave from ages 3-11 when the FBI uncovered a sex ring and found him. He had never been to school. He had never even been out of the house. These sorts of crimes are not being committed out in the open. They are very well hidden. You will never see these children, and no one is missing them. This poor boy couldn't read or write. One day, he got a 100% on his spelling test. He asked me if I could call his mom and ask her to take him back and he'd be a good boy from now on. Child sex trafficking is unfortunately all too common, but it's become a very hidden problem. My wife used to teach piano in an affluent suburb, and one of her students had an elderly nana who was openly treated like dirt by everyone in the house. She began to suspect this was a case of trafficking / slavery, but shortly after she took a moment to talk to the old lady about her situation, the family got rid of the old lady and subsequently fired my wife from teaching their kid. The family got rid of the old lady. Did they just throw her into the wood chipper or what? You are tasked with creating a fake heaven that secretly tortures people. What unnoticeable inconveniences would you add to torture your victims without them figuring out they aren't in heaven? Every time you sneeze so many times people get annoyed and stop saying bless you. Hey, I'm allergic. I don't want to rapidly sneeze 10 times in a row. What I want from me, you can't help it, but we can't help being annoyed by it either. I'm allergic to your allergies. YouTube quadruple ads. Calm down, Satan. Never. Fries that are a little bit too salty. Uneven hot dogs 2 bun packages. Frozen yogurt instead of ice cream. Roads are inclined the wrong way in corners, but just a few degrees. Other people talk a little bit too soft for you to hear. Beer is not cold, but not too warm either, but no foam. The tip of your pencil is always too tipped, so you'll never draw a single line, but to instead. Your Wi-Fi connection is just a bit too slow to comfortably download your videos. There's only 10 petrol and your car just can't handle it well. Pots won't open on the first try. The cheese always get the salt crystals and is the 18% fat variety. There's only white pepper, no black pepper. There's coriander on every dish. What is a fact that you thought everybody knew but apparently you were the only one? In a formal meal, where there are multiple forks / utensils on both sides of the plate, they are placed so that you can work from the outside inwards for each course. I learned this from the movie Titanic. Same. New Zealand is real. After seeing so many maps without it, I doubt /maps without / that you don't freeze in space. The amount of people that think you'll freeze or even explode in space is crazy. Wait, so the thing in Avengers, where the guy insta dies after being shot off the ship is fake? Dang. Yup, he'd likely be rendered unconscious in a few seconds though, so he'd very much have still died. He just wouldn't have frozen. What's the coolest thing you've done by accident? I was at a bar once with friends. I've already had a bit to drink and was ordering another pint for myself. The bartender was already serving someone else, so I decided to stupidly lean on the bar beside me, not knowing there were a bunch of empty glasses on it behind me. As I leaned back, I pushed all the glasses backwards, knocking one off. There were a lot of people around and most of them saw me knock it off and anticipated the shattering of the glass, but I freaked out and quickly crouched down and cupped my arm backwards to try and catch it without looking. I got lucky that day because it landed in my palm and I stood up and put it back on the counter. And yes, it sounds like bullshit, but a few people cheered and clapped and the bartender saw it and said she was really impressed. I didn't know what to do with all that praise, so I just ordered my beer and carried on with my night. Still think about it, but I will never be able to do it again, I can assure you. Did this bicycle kick in high school soccer. I was just goofing around, but the varsity coach witnessed it and gave me a position on the team. I was a terrible player, but they never knew because I was just a backup. Guy took a swing at his girlfriend in my bar. I only meant to grab his arm to stop the impact, but he twisted and I accidentally pinned him to the bar counter with his arm twisted up behind his back. Drew a duck. It was supposed to be a horse. 106. How do you respond when someone you meet for the first time says, "I've heard a lot about you"? I was young and needed the money. I didn't know they were going to be filming. They couldn't prove anything. Oh. Really? I haven't heard anything about you. Good, let's keep it that way. People who clean up after festivals and similar events. What's the best and worst things you have found left behind? Money and drugs. Lots of money and drugs. Damn, I want to get a job as a festival cleaner now. Would be awesome to just walk around finding ecstasy pills and bags of coke to bring home, like an adult Easter egg hunt. I found a friggin' gallon Ziploc bag full of shrooms after a Tool concert in Nebraska a couple of years ago. If you want that feeling every day though, I can't recommend Scrapyard work enough. I found a full top of the line gaming PC and Razer accessories in a truck that I was dismantling. Also pounds of weed in those same cars. At a large party a while ago, someone left a box with a PS4 in. Anyway, I got a nice birthday gift 1 week early. Yeah man, I went to a party last week and these guys totally just left all this perfectly good cookware in their kitchen cupboards. What a score that was. Who just leaves a PS4 at a party? Imagine if it's the homie Arwana's PS4 lol. My partner is a sound engineer and here's some things he's found. A cable covered in pee and a suspicious white powder. Bags of said white powder in the bathroom. Apparently someone trashed the stalls. The giant pink double-ended sex toy. Bongos bingo. And finally poo. Just there in the middle of the room. Someone had taken a dump during the event right in the middle of the crowd.